Manchester City 2, Brighton 1. That referee at the end there, mate. What were you doing? Anyway, welcome back to another video. The treble winners are back to winning ways. A much needed 3 points. A huge 3 points. Rodri, including 3 points there. Lovely stuff today from our boys in blue. And God, that was a horrible ending to that game, wasn't it? A really horrible ending to that game. I honestly thought we were going to concede at one point. It really did feel tetchy. It felt nervous. Down to 10 men. Akanji sent off for the softest of second fouls, by the way. The soft second fouls. But either way, we beat a good side today in Brighton. It is worth remembering that Brighton on no mugs whatsoever. And still, City aren't at the very best free flowing. But right now, the only thing that matters is those 3 points. We'll have games like this every single season, you know, where you got to grind it out. It was not a good second half, but a win, as Beppy said in the comments, is a win. I'm just relieved to see us back to winning ways, man. I really am. I thought we were good at times. Then we dropped off a tiny bit. But right now, as I look at it, we are back to the top of the table. Of course, Arsenal, Spurs still to play. But I will take that. I absolutely will take that. Because there were positives. Some places to work with, of course. You know, you've got to look at some areas to improve. But overall, this is what we needed to see. We needed to see Manchester City back, and it's good to be back making videos as well. You may have noticed I took a week or so off because I just needed to for varying reasons. Bit well, blah blah blah, etc. International break, you know. I thought I'd take a week off, but now City are back in action and cooking, and that feels good. How are you all? Do let me know your verdict, of course, in the comments as well. Do let me know what you felt of that. I'll go over to the stats from that game right now and bring it up on screen. I mean, as you can see, there was a very, very even game. 55% to 45% possession for Manchester City. But next year, both around 0.7. So City's sort of just edged it there, but it was very close. We had 10 shots to their 5, but they had a higher quality of chance, I would say, proportionately to the shots that they had, you know. But overall, I don't think City were terrible value for the win, even if it did get a little bit closer in the end, you know. Of course, down to 10 men at the end. Of course, the only thing that really does matter is the fact that we got the 3 points and we're top there. I will take that against the Brighton side, who's had a good start to the season. This is how we statistically did, according to SofaScore, you know, with Doku, the main man for Man City. But a lot of it back was down to me, to Rodri back in that team. Some interesting choices today, of course. Ortega starting instead of Ederson. I'd love to see Guardiola's reaction to that. It wasn't a great performance. I wouldn't say it was awful, Stu, personally. I think Brighton are a good side. I thought we were pretty slack in the last half an hour of the game. I do think, actually, though, we sort of controlled it after the goal for a good 5 minutes. But for 60 minutes of the game, I thought we were the better side, and we just definitely dropped off in the second half. I think that's probably just what we're used to at this stage of the season. We've seen it a billion times, and then we sort of get into like the 90-minute shape towards the second half of the season. But the first half, genuinely good. I thought the first half was excellent. City were really good. And then the second half, Brighton caused us trouble. We went a little bit sloppy, if I'm being honest. First half, for me, I thought we were strong. We were composed. Brighton had 5 minutes, but after that, we just looked like the better side, you know. There was times as well. As you can see, there's the story of the game, by the way, the attack momentum there. You can see City at the top there, of course. The momentum was pretty much all with City. Then it was sort of even for a few minutes, and then around 15-20 minute mark of the second half, City had a bit of the ball, but then Brighton came back into it, got the goal they deserved. City then started to control the ball a tiny bit, as you can see, but before eventually Brighton kind of went out at the end. But overall, it was a pretty decent performance. It wasn't a good end, but it was a pretty decent performance. I thought the ref, by the way, was terrible. Like, he just got so many little decisions wrong, man. He made that game chaotic. The amount of silly little fouls he was giving to Brighton or not giving to us. It wasn't particularly. He wasn't controlling the game at all. We do have to remember, once again, the context of this game. We aren't at our full best yet. We aren't. And I do think Brighton are a very good side. It's one of those things where I am not going to stress over, City not being perfect right now. I think we are better than we're showing right now. But I think Rodri coming back, of course, made a massive difference. At times, the plan today sort of worked really well. I thought I understood his reasoning about Diaz, because I think he wanted the better ball players on. Ortega, I'm not really sure. I want to see why he did that with Ortega. I actually really thought Ortega struggled on the ball today. He's actually a good passer, but he's not in Everton's. Definitely Everton's class. He's not in Ederson's class on the ball in terms of controlling it and passing it around. And I thought he looked a little bit tetchy. Maybe it was the fact that he chose to start today, and maybe he just got a little bit too much to him. You know, like it just felt a tiny bit too much. I'm not sure, but we will see. Amara Riff with a super chat is not a fan of Alvarez. It's interesting he says that Alvarez creates so all need a different solution. It's interesting that given the fact that I think he's got one of the most assists in the league this season, I think. But fair enough with your opinion there, mate. I think Alvarez is, look, today, not loads created, but it wasn't his day. But he's created plenty of chances. Hasn't he got one of the most big chances created in the whole league? I'm pretty certain he has. Maybe I'm wrong there, but we'll see. But I respect your opinion, mate. I mean, I'll jump over to Alvarez and see how he got on today in terms of the stats. Statistically, no key passes today, of course. He didn't create anything. I'll agree on that. But it wasn't his day. And, of course, he got his goal, which is, sort of his main job there. And he has got assists so far this season. For me, I'm not going to get too caught up on that. I don't think creativity was a real problem today. I think we're against a good side, we're just against a good side, and we're not fully at our very best yet. But Brighton are an excellent side, coached really well. I'm looking forward to seeing Guardiola's quotes. I really am. I thought Doku, by the way, of course, was really exciting. Really exciting. Like, obviously, Doku just makes things happen, as you can see there. I do think he was right to come off. Probably could have come off 5 minutes earlier. He got his assist, of course, but the game had got really tetchy at this point, and it became a little bit of a slog. And I sort of wanted to see a tiny bit more control. He was a dribble machine today. 5 out of 6 completed. 2 key passes. Of course, he got his assist. Doku, just absolutely a danger, like one-on-one against Milne, it wasn't fair at times. And I thought also Phil Foden had a really nice game as well. Maybe the stats don't fully show it, but I thought he was lively and progressive. 3 key passes today, of course, as well. He was just involved. Haaland scored a lovely goal as well. Bernardo, obviously Stones is sort of playing alongside Rodri, but Bernardo more central. I like it because he was obviously a little bit deeper every now and then alongside Rodri. And I think the midfield three of Stones, Rodri, Bernardo sort of kind of taking turns to be central. It just feels solid, and Stones being back was great. Manu Kanji wasn't. I don't think he was that bad until like the sending off, really. Paul said Brighton were good today, Steve. Fine to be glad we won. Not excuses. I'm not making excuses. I didn't say we were good all the way. I said we were good for the first 60 minutes, and then 20 minutes we slacked off a little bit. Brighton definitely did have a good little 20-minute spell, though. They really did. But they weren't that good today because City were the better side, for the first 60 minutes, I would say. And Brighton aren't an easy side. We see loads of performances like this, by the way, even in seasons where we win the league. Like, I am familiar with this performance by now. I absolutely am. I've seen it a billion times. I don't really care what the stadium is bored, Paul H. We won the treble, mate. Anyone complaining about City being bored watching City is being immensely entitled. I'm not being defensive, Paul. I'm just explaining that I disagree. I never said you. I wasn't actually arguing with you, mate. I honestly wasn't. I genuinely wasn't. If you took it that way, I'm sorry, but I wasn't. I just don't agree with you. So that's fair enough. I think you've misinterpreted me. But I thought honestly that I think Pep will say the same. Pep will come out and say that Brighton are a good side, good at parts, but then we got my honest opinion is that we got sloppy towards the end. I think we got sloppy, and I think we've probably started to take the game for granted a tiny bit. It became a little bit chaotic, like at times it looks really comfortable. Like they were not. Look, anyone watches my channel knows I'm not aggressive, Paul. I never am. I'm just assertive. It's not aggressive. It's Anyway, let Paul leave it, mate. This is nonsense. We're not arguing. I'm just disagreeing, politely, firmly. But it's a debate, like you debate with your mate, But like, it's not aggressive. It's just not holding hands because we're all adults. But anyway, I think for a while, City, we were easily in control. We were absolutely in control. Brighton weren't getting much of the ball. They weren't. City were passing it around against probably the best possession side in the league, other than Manchester City, and that's something that you got to consider. But then we did take her out of the ball. I mean, the momentum of the game, as you can see there, it's pretty much all City. But then the Brighton had that spell where they got the goal. Pep will want City to be better. I don't know why we're doing it, but it's always, to me, it feels like we see this every season with City, especially in the first few months of the season, and then whatever post-winter, we sort of kind of get there. Second half, we weren't as threatening. The refereeing, once again, by the way, the refs are just so inconsistent, and it's sort of frustrating because you get the game broken up and it gets frustrating, and I don't know. I don't know how some of those fouls didn't get a yellow card, and then the slightest of touches from Akanji got his second yellow. It's what it is. Jake, you're really banging the Peroni drum, mate. I think you're miles off of that. No offense, mate, but you can't even get on the pitch for Las Palmas at the moment. So I think you're underestimating the levels required to play for Manchester City. I think you are, Jake, with the Peroni thing, mate. And they will get better, you know. Like we will get better. We always do. The reason I don't really complain or get too panicky is because I've seen this a billion times before. At this stage of the season, October, September, we're always talking about City need to be better or how we just kind of scrape through a game. I've seen it 1,000 times under Guardiola, but they always do. They always do, man. Like, and the scrappy wins are, as Joe doesn't like him in the chat, I get that, mate. I don't like him either. But the scrappy wins are just part of the evolution. You learn lessons by flaws. You learn lessons by seeing what you did and what you did wrong, what worked and what didn't. And I think Guardiola will go, look, why are we losing focus after 60 minutes? If you can lose focus and still win, it's great because Pep can go, you won, you got away with it today, but you're going to sort this out. We're going to do this. And I guarantee you when you look at City's fixtures coming up, if you look at City's fixtures, you know, like we've got obviously United. You got Young Boys midweek, then we've got United next weekend. I suspect Pep will be telling the players, you need to really, really, really focus. Why did we switch off? I don't know. I wonder if they go into autopilot a little bit. Like, I don't think this City side are lazy. They're obviously not lazy. They're treble winners. I don't think they're complacent either. I don't. I love it when people randomly just pick out a player. Like, Grealish is awful. Like, what did he do wrong, mate? He came on for 15 minutes, you know. If anything, Grealish had the right idea. We actually calmed it down after their goal. So I don't think it was a dross display either. I think, to be honest, I feel like some of these reactions need to consider the context of the game. You know, Rodri back, but Stones back, you know. Brighton are a very good side. I'm not saying we played well, but I'm not saying it's worth panicking over either. Literally, if we win and we make mistakes, I just simply trusting Guardiola to get it fixed. I just do. Mara Riff with another super chat. Thank you so much, mate. Says 3 points all that matters. Everyone needs to relax. Yeah, indeed. Like when we talk about performances being dross, if that's this dross, what was the previous couple of defeats? They were dross. This was just an average performance. It was an average performance. Look, if we played dross, Brighton would have won 3 or 4-1 today. They would have. It's as simple as that. You don't beat Brighton 2-1 by playing terribly. You just don't. You just don't. It doesn't work that way. I do think, of course, Rodri being back today was a big part of the team's success today. Of course, Rodri was he had that sort of composure and control that we just need in this team, man. We really do. It's post-international break, you know. It's a good point for us to keep, you know, against a very, 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 very good side. And we probably weren't. We're not at our best. We're just not right now. As Guardiola says, just be there. Just be there. Be there or nearabouts, you know. And for whatever reason, fix that last second half kind of issue. We've seen it before. Honestly, we've had this debate a billion times, and I've seen it where teams come back in, and then we just sort of invite a little bit of pressure. It eventually goes towards the end, you know. I don't know what it is or what happens. It could be. Look, I think what Pep does, I think Pep tries to make sure they just keep the ball and control it a little bit in the second half. I think he does that, rightfully so, but it sort of ends up, it doesn't get through and it becomes a little bit slow, you know. It becomes a little bit slow and kind of calms down. I don't know why it happens, but it is what it is. By the way, apparently Tommy Doyle did really well today for Wolves. I've noticed he's trending today, which I'm very happy for Tommy Doyle. Which I'm really happy for him. Tommy Doyle, a Premier League player, and did really well. Who are the best? Who are at the best? Arsenal are beating. Who are at the best? I don't really know right now. Spurs are at their best, I would say. Spurs are at the best, and we're going to be a couple of points off them, you know. I'm aware of what we do. I thought Doku was great, by the way, of course. Doku, excellent, absolutely electrifying every time he gets the ball. He goes forward and he causes so much trouble. He's such a pain to deal with. He's such a pain to defend against. But that is what Doku does, man. Like he's a fantastic player. But I think towards the second half, when things are getting out of control a little bit, I understood why Guardiola would bring Grealish on because We just needed to make 10, 20 passes more. Pep talks about this. Treat the ball with a little bit more respect towards the end. Keep the ball. Pass it around. Be calm, you know. Do not let the ball get away a little bit sloppy, because we did do that, you know. It's a tendency to do that. I do still put it down to relative early season rustiness. I know we are a quarter of the way through the season, but I'm talking about Manchester City standards. We're 9 games through, you know, as you can see the table over here. 9 games through there. Which is obviously, you know, a substantial amount. But I know how the City side operate by now. I do trust in Pep. It's very basic, man. But Paul, mate, I'm not. Look, if you took it as rude, I apologise. But I really didn't mean to be. I'm just passionate. I'm not a rude person, mate. I never have been. I'm a passionate person, and I like to, you know. I like to have a good debate, but I definitely wouldn't consider myself a rude person. If you took it that way, I do sincerely apologise. Oh, Nicola just heard me downstairs. She just shouted, "You're not a rude person." Like my wife's defending me downstairs. Does that mean Ruben is up? Yeah. Well, there we go. My son's up downstairs. Hey, Ruben, downstairs. He started nursery this week. Yeah, Tash made a good point. Importantly, Haaland goal. Erling, mate, I love you. What a 20-yard tapping that was, drilled into the bottom corner. Big Erling Haaland. That's what you want to see from him. I want to see that aggression to his game. He's been a little bit off recently, man. He's been a little bit off, and that's fine. That's fine. It happens. But he got his 9th goal of the season today in the Premier League in 9 games. It's not bad for a man on a goal drought, hey, out of form. 9 in 9 for Erling Haaland. It's quite crazy when you think about it, isn't it? It's just what he does. He's a stupidly good footballer. 9 goals there. 4 for Alvarez, of course, in the league this season. By the way, Haaland, the man who's had a terrible season, has got 9 goals from 8.1 XG this season. So he's outscoring his XG by basically a goal, which is funny, isn't it? And how apparently he's been terrible this year. The levels of Haaland are absolutely ridiculous, and what is normal for him compared to everyone else is just absolutely crazy, man. I'm not too worried about Kovacic, Quicksilver in the chat. To be honest, I think what Guardiola does, we see it a lot, by the way. I've seen this trend before where a new player comes in, they play a few games, they start quite well, but then they have the odd game where it doesn't quite work. So what Pep Guardiola does, he exposes them a little bit, then he pulls them back a little bit and goes, "You started well, mate, but it isn't quite working. Watch these guys." He's gone back to experience, you know. He said, watch Bernardo, watch John Stones. Kovacic and Nunes today probably learned a little bit, and they will absolutely come back into the team in time. They will learn a little bit more. But right now, when you've had a couple of performances that aren't great, what do? You probably lean into the centre of your team with a more experienced spine. And I get that. I think there's a real good logic and rationale behind sort of just leading on Stones, Bernardo, Rodri, the ones who've been there and done it, you know, literal treble winners. I think that makes an awful lot of sense. I do think the red card of Kanji sort of solved the derby debate. You know, I think Ruben Diaz would have played in that anyway, because I don't think Paul, forget it, mate. It's all good. We're all City fans, but I do think he would have played anyway, because it's a more physical side. He suits those kind of games. But I would expect for the derby, you'll see a very similar team. I hope Doku plays in that, by the way. I think away at Old Trafford, he'll play Jack Grealish. That would be my guess, maybe. But I think Stones and Diaz will play alongside maybe Vardial and Kanji, Walker, maybe. By the way, I thought Vardial was really good, by the way. I really like a bit of Josko Vardial. He's an excellent player. That is one particular run he did which was great, where he drove through the middle. Lovely stuff. He couldn't quite get his pass off, which is a shame, but that's what you want to see. It could be Ake could come back on as well. Ake is obviously always good in the big game. He's got that experience. I don't know what they're going to do, but I must admit, I don't really think Walker was good today. I thought Matoma, Brian just said Matoma was class. Matoma had Walker right there in the palm of his hand. He turned him so many times. Excellent player. Really is. If we didn't have Doku, I would love Matoma. He's wonderful. But I'm trying to look at the bigger picture. Look, I don't think we're ever, given the current form, given the current state of the season, I don't think we were ever going to get through a game against Brighton and not have a bad spell. I just don't think it's possible. Those performances are rare against very good sides. And I know Brighton aren't a big name, but they are a very good side for a reason, you know. And I do feel like the fact that you had 20 minutes of like sort of Let's not pretend Brighton are a bad side here, Stu, mate. Brighton literally are one of the best possession sides. Look, if Pep thinks they're good, if Pep thinks they're good, then that says it all. You know, like, they are a much better side than most teams, you know. They really are. Brighton have given a lot of teams an awful lot of trouble this season, and they will continue to do so. Because they are a very good side, you know. No, they beat, you know, they drew against Liverpool, don't forget, by the way, before us. So we can laugh about Brighton, but they drew against Liverpool. And Liverpool are absolutely flying right now. They battered Man United, of course, as well. They are a good side. Do you think we might win it, the league? Yeah, of course, mate. I still think we will win the league. I really do. I think, as Pep always says, stay close. And once City get going, the thing is, the way I've learned to realise with Guardiola is over time, I've learned to realise that the way that he manages is Pep, basically, what he does at the start of every season, he looks at the collection of players he's got, and he goes, like, what is the strengths and weaknesses? This player can do that. This player can do that. As a collective, we're really good at doing these things. As a collective, we're maybe not quite as good at doing these things. So how do we use these players to get the best possible system, to get a maximised kind of performance out of these players? And I think he does it every year. And so last season, of course, he came up with that formation that we all hated, and by October we were all telling it's terrible, and Guardiola came out and said, I know more than the Twitter guys, and by the end of it, we'd had our greatest ever season in the history of the club, and we hated that formation. And that was based on pure control because he felt that we didn't have explosive dribblers. This season, I think Pep's looked at the system and gone, right, I think these players work in a certain way based off these attributes. And the thing is, what he does, he takes a little bit of time to work, but this is why we're always at our best around January, February, because by about 40-50% of the season, we're fully up to the scratch. Everyone's got it. The new signings have embedded in a little bit, you know. Everyone's sort of flying a little bit, and I think our experience kicks in then, and the players have got the ideas. It all kicks on, and I think everyone starts to fear us a little bit more because we've got this relentless attribute to us that just scares teams, this winning attitude, you know. So I've learned to just be calm at the start of the season, as long as things aren't terrible. And things right now clearly aren't terrible. We're top of the table. Of course, you know, there's still more Premier League games to go, and other teams might, you know, be ahead of us by the end of the weekend's games. But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, we've got Chelsea, Arsenal coming up at R5. Come on, Chelsea, man. Hopefully a Cole Palmer masterclass indeed. Spurs have got Fulham on Monday night. They'll win that, of course, you know. It's one of those things. It's one of those things where I've just learned not to get carried away or get upset either way. I can do a fan view live if any of you guys want it. Kevin wants a fan view live. I would love to chat to you. Yeah, all right, Kevin, I'll do a fan view live, mate. If you're there, it'd be good to jump on. But for now, this was a huge win. We needed it. The 3 points are more than the performance, and the performance was okay. By the way, a great stat here. We've now won 21 consecutive home games at the Etihad. That is a really, really, really impressive, you know. Premier League home winning streak. 21 wins in the Premier League at home. The Etihad is an absolute fortress earlier. It's one of those things where I think judge this City side in a few months' time, I reckon. I think Pep made the right calls and substitutes today, but it was probably about 10 minutes too late. Brighton had already gone into it a tiny bit. I also do respect, by the way, even if things start to go down a little bit, Pep gives the players a few minutes to try and sort it out. And if it doesn't happen, then he makes the changes. And that's fine. It is what it is on that point. But it was a little bit too late for them to get the goal. But I do feel, hands up if you thought it was going to be 2-2. I did. I thought it was going to be 2-2. But we did control the ball a little bit. I mean, you can see with the stats once again, if you look at the actual, you know, the momentum of the game after they scored their goal, it did calm down, which I thought was really impressive. Like, we put the sort of, the game, they scored the goal, then the control went down a little bit, and then it sort of tapered off for a few minutes. The City kept the ball for 5-10 minutes, and it was massive for City. Anyway, you guys are all awesome. Thank you for watching this. I'll do a fan view live. I'll be live in, like, I'd say 22, so 7-8 minutes. Lovely stuff, man. I can't wait to do more videos this week. Of course, I took a few days off because I needed it. I don't know if you guys watched this, by the way, but I would appreciate if you could do. I did a really good vlog. I did a really good vlog the other day. It was fantastic. It was over in Leipzig. I would love it if you could go and give it a watch. I thought it was excellent. I really did. I think it was excellent. I sat with a Leipzig fan. This video here. right there. Wonderful stuff. Go and give it a watch. I know Noah was in the mood for it, but let's get the views up on that video if we can, because it was the biggest opportunity for me over here for Germany with TNT Sports. Thank you for watching. City are treble winners. We're top of the league. A good result today. Things to improve on, definitely, but some good performances from Stones, Rodri, Doku, Alvarez back, and Haaland back on the score sheet. Alvarez another goal. Lovely stuff. See you for the final review live in about 5 minutes. In a bit. Bye-bye.